up in the morning, beneath the stars so bright. Pull your hat down, make sure your cinch is tight. Horses kinda snuffy, cold chill up your spine. You'll get your ass moving, son, we're burning daylight.
Howdy there, I'm Matt McKinley and we're burning daylight.
In the saddle till the job's done right.
Welcome to Burning Daylight, the only podcast for the working cowboy. Well, welcome back, Daylight Burners. Hope everybody's having a good weekend. Get to watch any football today, Eric?
I did. I watched the Bills lose.
God damn it, I was so
second year in
pissed.
a row. I was so ready. I was like, they're going to tie it up. They're going to take him to overtime, and then Bass missed it. I don't. It was like
I was
watching
so
the
mad.
Cowboys. It was like, first the Broncos got knocked out. Before
Yeah.
the playoffs even started, and then the Cowboys, they did the Cowboy thing, and they went out in the divisional or the wild card.
Wild card, yeah.
And then
got their
I was like,
ass
well, I got the
beat,
Bills.
too.
We got Josh Allen. This is the year. They were pulling up all the stats, Brady and Manning, and all the similarities between Mahomes and Allen. And then Mahomes and his – I don't even know. I don't hate Patrick Mahomes the way I hate Tom Brady. But,
Yeah.
man, it's starting to get that way.
I know, it's the thing is, the guy's the best quarterback I've ever seen play. I mean, he is like phenomenal athlete.
Absolutely.
But he's a Chief, and I can't like him. And
No. And I'll never like him.
it was a good game all up until that missed field goal too. Like I was enjoying all of it because they still were pushing the Taylor Swift thing, but Tony Romo powered on through it and didn't even acknowledge it. And I was like,
yeah.
I fucking love Tony Romo as an announcer. He just he didn't acknowledge her whatsoever. They showed her on the screen and he just kept talking football. And I was like, good. Like these football guys don't have to pretend to care about Taylor Swift because we don't. We're here to watch football.
No, that's why significant others watch the game now, but that's not why I'm here.
Still, yeah, and then that just absolutely shanked the field goal, and it was an easily makeable field goal.
I think it was under 40 yards. I'm pretty sure it was like a 38-yarder. I was not a kicker in high school, but I'm pretty sure I've made a 38-yarder. It's one of those things. If I can come off the couch and I can make that field goal, you ought not to be missing it. Yeah, that's that one. I was just like, oh man. Because I wasn't sure they were going to win it because Mahomes got his voodoo and they got the NFL behind him. And
but
Kelsey was having a game.
Yeah.
I was just hoping they take it to overtime and make it something. But that losing on a missed field goal and then, QB meals is just tough.
And then, that he missed that touchdown throw. That was like the one throw that he missed all game. I mean, he was dropping dimes all game. He missed that one. And Romo was kind of holding water for him. He's like, he got hit. No, he had a guy in his face, but he didn't get hit. That was just he missed that throw. Got to have that, but got to have that field goal too. And God damn it. So I don't know. It's starting to look like another Chiefs Super Bowl, and I don't want to see it happen. I'd rather see the Ravens at this point, but.
I know. I don't know. I don't know if you've seen the pictures of the colors of the Super Bowl logo, but it's according to that going to be a Ravens 49ers Super Bowl.
Well, that'd be a good game. I wouldn't mind seeing Detroit win one. Just I like their head coach a lot.
It'd be cool to see him make it for sure.
Yeah, I like that head coach a lot. Yeah, it was a good game or a good day of football, anyways. I hated to see the Chiefs win another one, but yeah, what are you gonna do?
It's Patrick Mahomes' sixth straight AFC Championship game. He has, as a starter, has never not been in the AFC Championship game.
He's insane. I hate to see it, but oh well. It is what it is. So we got Eric Winkler back on the show. You were on way back when, weren't you? Once on a bull session, weren't you?
I think so. We were talking college football.
Yeah, that's right.
And I was big on Ole Miss, and then Ole Miss ended up finishing out 8-4, so ended up being wrong there.
I don't know college football anymore. It's so.
All I care about is Wyoming, and we lost our head coach, so don't know how well we'll do.
I really wish like Wyoming and CSU and like all the like a lot of those kind of Mountain West or like the old Big West teams. I wish they'd drop down to FCS and at least we could have some competitive years because it's just they're. I don't see how they compete ever in D1. They just they don't have
we had
the
teams
funding.
in the Mountain West compete this year. Wyoming competed with 2 Big 12 teams, Texas and Texas Tech. We beat Tech.
That's right.
Air Force and we were both Air Force and Wyoming were on the outskirts of being ranked when we played each other. That was a good game.
Yeah.
You know, like there's the teams who can really compete now in the group of 5 conferences are looking like they're kind of starting to come from the Mountain West. You know, you got teams like Boise State, Fresno State, who are always finishing the season usually ranked or close to it. You know, UNLV had a great season. I mean, look at New Mexico State. They're not Mountain West. I think they're Conference USA. But, I mean, they went into Auburn and they walked out with a blowout victory.
Yeah, you know? That's true. Yeah, I mean.
Definitely we're seeing a huge turnaround in terms of the NIL and the conference realignments, but I think it'll sort itself out. You know, once these Pac-12 teams realize that the crap they're putting their players through are meaning they're not winning any championships anymore. I mean, I don't understand. USC's going to the Big Ten, and there are 2 teams, maybe 3 if you count Penn State, who own the Big Ten, and USC does not stack up to Michigan or Ohio State. Or even Penn State.
No, they haven't in a while. They used to, but like that's
they were supposed to be this year, and then they finished 8-4. Wyoming finished 8-4. You know?
Yeah. I don't know. It's wild. I was talking to a guy. He went to Montana, and I was like, I always think, you know, when you see the CFP playoff going. Like I don't ever watch many of those games, but I kind of want to see CSU take a run at North Dakota State, and you know, like and it would bring back like a lot of old like traditional state rivalries, you know, and I just because I don't see CSU ever being outside of maybe a year here and there where they can make a run at something, but I don't know. Maybe I don't know how it's all going to work out anymore.
They made a couple runs this year. They almost beat Boulder.
Yeah.
And they took Wyoming down to the wire too. I think, but I don't know. I was following along the FCS playoffs with Montana State, and DSU. I mean, it was exciting. Colorado School of Mines was playing really well. You know, I would almost rather watch that where I know these guys are just playing because they like to play. You know, they're not all trying to get as much money as they can. You know, there's freshmen in college now making millions of dollars with their deals with Nike. I don't have a problem.
It's insane.
You know, a lot of these kids are coming out of nothing, but at the same time, it's like, well, you're also sacrificing what college sports is.
Yeah.
That's not
which is the love of the game.
Making money off of your sport, you know.
Yeah.
It's not an amateur sport anymore. You know, it's the same reason Olympics used to be only amateur athletes because the professionals were only.
Well, it's what happens when the people at top get too greedy,
Absolutely.
And then when money becomes all of it, it gets ruined. And the NCAA was just raping these college athletes hand over fist, you know, with the amount of money they made off of their name, image, and likeness. And so it's. I'm all in favor of those guys getting their money, because I'm no fan of the NCAA, but also, yeah, it's college football's wild nowadays, and this is not at all what we were planning on talking about. But I knew you were a football fan. It was a good day of football, so
it was a good day of football.
But we were talking right before we got on, and you were saying you jumped out of a plane, or essentially fell out of a plane because your chute not deploy is what happened.
So it didn't deploy properly. So I can't say it didn't deploy because it did get pulled, but it's what we call in Airborne a cigarette roll. So instead of expanding, it stayed kind of how it came out, and basically we were doing a jump overseas, and they dropped us lower than they normally do. Normally lower than they said they were dropping us. So normally, even if my chute cigarette rolls, I'd have about 20 seconds of time to get it fixed, or 15 seconds of time to get it fixed realistically before I got to pull my reserve. That's dropping about 1,400 feet. They dropped us about 700 feet, so I had 10 seconds to fix my chute, and by second 12, I was on the ground. So it slowed my descent enough that I didn't die on impact, but I hit the ground like a freight train. It rug my bell. I've been stomped, I've been kicked, and I don't know if I've had a worse concussion than that. I woke up thinking that there was a Chili's in Eastern Europe on the drop zone. I was like, we're going to get Chili's. And everybody was like,
are you allowed to say where you were?
I was in Estonia.
Okay.
But rural Estonia, I mean, I could maybe find it on a map. The drop zone was in the middle of nowhere.
Estonia, that's the Baltics, right? It's like Estonia, Lithuania, Latvia up in there. Yeah. Okay.
It's in that top right-hand corner of Europe.
You were up there to try to big dick Putin. That's what those troops are up there for.
Pretty much exactly what it was. And then 8 months later he invaded Ukraine.
Yeah. It's I love America. I think it's the greatest country. Like, I love the military. I just got my biological dad's military records back the other day from National Archives, and I love military history. Like, I'm a big fan of strategy and tactics and all the stuff. But boy, it's looking back at all the, like, particularly post World War II, it's made me become way less of a fan of America when you see all the stupid shit that we have done.
Absolutely.
Unnecessary. Like, yeah, particularly Vietnam. Like, that, we wasted an entire generation of, like, really good soldiers on a war that we could have never won in the first place, and we knew it going in.
Yeah.
It's insane.
Destroyed lives.
Yeah. It's just insane. Yeah, not to mention how many Vietnamese we killed.
Yeah, no, not even talking about the Vietnamese people that whose lives were destroyed.
Yeah, it's just insane when you look back at all of it, and like that Russia thing. Like, we grew up under American propaganda, and Russia's the bad guy always. I'm fucking Rocky IV, man.
Oh yeah.
And
Top Gun.
Well, I'm not saying that they're good, but it's hard to see how they were real wrong in this particular deal. Like, they explicitly said many times, like, Ukraine's a big red line. Don't cross this. And what did we? Well, we went and overthrew a government and tried to bring them into NATO. And like, oh well. When you actually listen to what they were saying the whole time, like, oh, we should have seen that coming a long ways off. So, I don't know. It's just dumb.
Foreign policy is interesting.
Yeah. It's really crazy when you start to, because, like, I was talking to Jeremiah Wilbur the other day. We were texting back and forth, and like, Pakistan and Iran are now, like, trading airstrikes with each other, and I'm like, I didn't even know they weren't cool with each other.
Pakistan is the enemy of everybody in the Middle East. They hate India, they hate Iran, they hate Afghanistan. Iraq, Saudi Arabia. Pakistan is just at war with everybody except for China, because China's putting a ton of money into them to build up this Silk Road type thing, so they can keep their supplies coming if they ever go into war. Because the U.S. has managed to kind of finagle them, where even Russia wouldn't be on their side, because they've been stealing Russian tech as much as they've been stealing ours.
Oh yeah, and they're good at tech too. That's the thing, is they're good at making shit.
Mass-produced tech. They've got a couple new fighter, fifth generation fighter. I don't know if you picked up on that term from Top Gun, but it's the newest generation of fighter plane and bombers. And they basically just ripped off the Russian MiG, the new Russian MiG for their fighter pilot, and then the B-2 stealth bomber for their bomber. I mean, they're basically carbon copies.
No shit.
Yeah.
Interesting. That's wild. Well, and they're good at producing really cheap shit. I mean, just look at any cowboy Facebook page, and somebody's trying to sell handmade knives from Pakistan.
Handmade knives.
Yeah, they're.
That's where they get you.
It was crazy, and then but that was the whole thing. I was talking with Jeremiah. I said, how cool are we with Pakistan? Because I know we have some sort of relationship with them, but I also know that we did a lot of drone strikes in Pakistan over the years, and they're not real happy about it.
Yeah.
And a lot of drone strikes in Pakistan. But,
yeah, I mean, we were lucky we didn't target any of their infrastructure, but we were still conducting. It's like if Russia was bombing, the Tetons, because that's where some guy who hid out, and you're not going to make friends if you're kicking somebody else's sandcastles over.
Yeah, it's
you have a relationship, but as far as I know, it's pretty strained. It's pretty much like, hey, we're not going to screw with you, don't screw with us anymore.
Yeah, that's kind of what I've understood too. Like, there's some sort of intelligence sharing that goes on, but it's not real great relationships. But what unit were you with?
I was with the 573rd Cavalry out of the 82nd Airborne in Fort Bragg, North Carolina. Well, Fort Liberty now, but
Fort Liberty. Then, I mean, yeah.
They could have picked a name there, so they changed it because Braxton Bragg, the guy it was named after, was a Confederate general, and I don't care that he was a Confederate. I was kind of pissed that he got a base named after him. He was an inept, idiot general. He was moronic, but he had a nephew who fought for the Union who was a very good, I think, colonel.
Yeah,
retired as, and I was like, just say that it's named for the Union guy who was good at his job and save the name.
Right. Yeah, because Fort Bragg's kind of iconic. That's Fort Benning's the home of the infantry, but Fort Bragg's airborne, right?
Yeah, it's home of the airborne. The Fort Campbell in Kentucky likes to say they're home of the airborne because the 101st is there, but the 101st isn't airborne anymore.
Yeah.
So
they haven't really been airborne since World War II.
I think that's or at least Vietnam.
Yeah.
So,
I guess the 101st did see quite a little bit of time in Vietnam, but I don't know if they jumped.
No, I don't know if they jumped. I know the 82nd jumped in Vietnam. They jumped in Panama. And the last combat jump was in Iraq or Afghanistan in the early 2000s.
Okay.
So we haven't had airborne is pretty much obsolete,
Yeah.
In terms of how we use it.
Like mass unit airborne anyways,
At least in a conventional war, we would not be able to do a mass unit airborne assault against a country like China or Russia. We can probably still pull it off in Afghanistan or some of these more underdeveloped countries, but it's not as useful as air assault would be, or even just an amphibious or a ground attack.
Yeah. See, that's all this shit's super interesting to me because, like I said, I know I've said it on the show many times, but I can remember in 4th grade reading Civil War battle plans and stuff, and like that, I just ate that shit up,
Oh yeah.
And it's funny is you can look through all the military strategy and whatnot, particularly like battle plans and tactics and all these campaigns, but it really comes down to food and weapons.
Yeah.
And whoever's got the food and the weapons wins at the end of the day. Like the Confederates fought some incredible victories during the Civil War, like undermanned, outgunned, and just brilliant tactics won the day. But they were always doomed to lose that battle. They had no manufacturing whatsoever.
None. And you can't win without it.
And you look at World War One, like German army was fierce until they ran out of bullets and food.
They were.
Their manufacturing capacity was insane. Their military strategy sometimes was really spectacular,
especially with their tanks. They were really good with their tanks.
Mm-hmm. They couldn't feed an army.
No.
And that was the whole push eastward during World War II. Lebensraum as living room. We gotta have elbow space to, and that was like Hitler's biggest fear was being starved out, like they got starved out in World War One with the naval blockade and everything. So he was going to take Ukraine, and he did for a little bit. But yeah, it always came back to food and weapons, and who can make the most of that is usually who wins that war.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting to see. I mean, that's kind of how the Taliban were able to well, not necessarily the Taliban the whole time, but all these groups that we were fighting in Afghanistan were able to stay is because they figured out how to have access to weapons and food, and they managed to keep that hidden away and managed to kind of survive, kind of like cockroaches, for lack of a better term, through
it's accurate.
Tough conditions.
The terrain suited them, and they lived there. That's also a huge advantage. Home field advantage plays a big factor in guerrilla warfare.
I think in terms of guerrilla warfare, we haven't seen a guerrilla war. We haven't won a guerrilla war ever.
No. Not since the revolution.
Yeah, well, that's when we were fighting as the guerrillas.
Yep. And I guess to somewhat the Indian Wars, that was a guerrilla war. But man, can you imagine if the Indians would have been evenly matched in weaponry from the get go? Not a fucking chance we would have conquered.
And if they were as united as they were at like Little Bighorn, they destroyed the cavalry. I mean, they knew us better than we knew them.
Yep. Yeah, they're really, really great war fighters, but it was the same thing though. Like Sitting Bullies, like they just keep coming. They just keep coming, and that's when they knew it was lost. It's like can't beat them. There's just too many.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's wild, and now like the Russia-Ukraine thing is this like weird kind of throwback / hybrid, incredibly high-tech war, but the most of the actual fighting is just essentially World War I style trench warfare.
Yeah,
with cooler guns
and drones.
Yeah, just drones everywhere. Drones of all kinds everywhere.
I mean, I would shoot down my own drones. I'd be like, I don't care. Nothing is, if you flying something over me and I can see it, I'm going to shoot at it.
Yeah, because who knows when the fucking grenade's just going to drop out of that thing.
Yeah.
And that's the craziest. And then just being able to see all this footage on Telegram and Twitter, just, almost real time.
Yeah. Watching them fight. I've been following along. There's a team of American volunteers fighting over there.
Yeah.
For Ukraine, and sometimes their tactics are dumb, and I think that's they're not doing, our tactics, and they don't quite. It wouldn't be something that I would do. Not that I'm saying that I do well over there or anything, but
yeah,
it's interesting to see how they fight. I mean, I've done some training with a couple Ukrainians. I've done training obviously with the Estonians, and they fight like Russians. They're very much like, hey, we're gonna gather up, as many people as we can, and we're just gonna throw them at you.
Yeah.
Until you fail.
And that's essentially how it's gone in Ukraine, and Russia's just got more people they can throw at that problem too. That's the whole thing with, like, I don't know. I've listened to a lot of different military guys talk about that too, and there's like the weapons are updated slightly. I mean, I wouldn't say slightly. There's a lot of updated weapons, but they still just fight like Russians. Yeah. And you're like, well, okay. So we sent them all those tanks and shit to help break through in this counteroffensive, and they lost like 60% of them in 2 weeks. You're like, oh,
the Russians' equipment is garbage, but they know how to use it.
Yep.
I've seen videos of they pulled out a few T-34 tanks. Those are the tanks they used in World War II.
Yeah.
T-34,
which was like the king of that was the king of the hill in World War II, was the T-34.
Yeah.
Like those are better than the German tanks.
Well, they used it better. I don't know if I would say it was better. Very much it was cheap manufactured, but they figured out how to use it the right way, and once they were able to deplete the Germans enough, they definitely overwhelmed them. Same way we did with the Shermans coming from the western side was, we couldn't beat a Tiger tank one-on-one in most scenarios, just on paper. But when it's not the plane, it's the pilot. It's not the tank, it's the driver or the commander, whatever you want to be specific. But it's interesting to see also the difference in the mental health and resilience that you're seeing over there, versus the wars that we were fighting. Mental health isn't the right word. The public viewership, I guess, how they view the war in Ukraine. It's not like they're like, oh, I just wish this would be over already. I'm sure they are, but they're supporting it. But when we were in Afghanistan, they're like, there's no reason for us to be there.
Yeah.
We got the guy who did 9/11. Why are we still there?
Right. And why the fuck did it take so long to get him in the first place? Like, why didn't we take him out when we had him? He was trapped, and we just let him slip away because they were like, it was going to look bad if we deploy the army now. Like, so how bad did it look for 20 years after that?
Yeah. What does that look for us? If we got our guys back and didn't have a 20-year war that we lost?
If we could have, like, realistically, that could have been wrapped up by New Year's Day 2002. And that would have been the biggest fucking win in since World War II. Just like, they hit us pretty hard, but we went in and smoked that motherfucker, and we didn't even spend a year doing it.
Yeah.
Come at me, bro. Fucking come at me.
Yeah, I don't know why that wasn't the case. I didn't. Yeah. I grew up and we watched, the names of the guys who died fighting a useless war.
Yep.
In Afghanistan show up on the news in the morning before school.
Mm-hmm.
When my family and my cousins were deployed, I'd be watching for their names.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, why did we subject people? Why do we subject our military and our families to that when there was really no point to it after we got them? Yeah. That was still a 10-year thing. They didn't get them until 2011.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And I remember there's a video of Ron Paul saying, like, if we don't get out now, he's speaking to Congress. Like, we got him. If we don't get out now, we'll be there for another 10 years. And you're just like, if that dude's not a prophet, I don't know. I don't know what is nowadays.
Absolutely.
And it's I look at all this stuff and I'm worried because, like, that when we were talking, I think it was the last couple of Fence Post Politics, like the budget that they're getting ready to put out, 50 or the number that they agreed upon. So the Speaker of the House and the Senate Majority Leader, the number they agreed on, it was like $900 billion for defense spending, which is not defense spending, it's war spending. But that's like 54% of the total budget for the year. And you're like, you don't spend that much money on your army if you're not going to use it.
Yeah.
And the worst part of it is, like, we are not ready for a war. Like, we are not ready, especially the wars that we look like we're picking. Like, even, say, the weakest of them, Iran. Between, Russia and China and Iran. Iran's the weakest of the military for sure. But that's still a country that's like 4 times the size of Iraq with mountains, and a way better military than Saddam ever had.
Well, without a doubt.
So like that's not going to be a walk in the park. Like, we can definitely level some shit, but once we go in on the ground, like, it's not going to be real fun. Like, so if we're not ready for that, we're damn sure not ready to go up against China or Russia. And and we're starting to see, after all the Ukraine stuff, and I don't know how much of it is due to their tactics versus ours, or just how much our technology advantage doesn't really exist that much. It's like, we're for all the cool shit that we supposedly sent over there, they don't have a whole lot to show for it.
No, and that goes back to, it ain't the plane, it's the pilot. But at the same time, some of those things, it's a little bit like, look, if they can't figure out a way to win with what we gave them.
Yeah. Yeah, or at least get you in a favorable spot, which...
Like having somebody in a shooting competition outshoot you with a precision rifle at 1,000 yards with their 22 lever action Marlin.
Yeah.
It's like, if he's able to do that with that, you ought to be able to do a lot more with what you've got.
Yeah. Yeah, and I don't know, but you look at that whole deal, like, we depleted our ammunition stockpiles. Like, we had to essentially reroute a bunch of equipment that was meant for Israel to send to Ukraine, partially because the other NATO countries aren't holding up their end of the bargain.
No, we're basically funding that war right now.
Yeah. Yeah, like, I don't know how Europe can be so casual about they're just like, oh, I guess the Americans got it, is kind of what their attitude is. But you'd think they'd learn a few lessons from history, but I was listening to a book from Pat Buchanan. I was all on World War II, and he called it the unnecessary war, and blamed Churchill for a lot of it. And a lot of it went back to the war guarantee they gave Poland. Like, that, we're gonna ride to your rescue if Germany invades. And that gave Poland a false sense of confidence. They wouldn't give back Danzig, which is what Hitler wanted, was Danzig, because it was German before World War One. And I guess ish. Either way, they had a somewhat legitimate claim on Danzig. The people of Danzig, for the most part, wanted to be back with German, Prussian, whatever. And long story short, England, there was no way England could come to the rescue of Poland, and they found out, because not only did Poland get raped by Russia, by Germany, then they got raped by the Soviets for 50 years. And like, chances are, if he wouldn't have had to fight, France and England over Poland, he would have took Danzig and then shifted his focus to Ukraine, and who knows where it would have went from there. But, like, Western Europe didn't really need to get involved. America damn sure didn't need to get involved. It worked out for us in the long run, but I mean, kinda, anyways. But I don't know. It's funny in the short term it worked out good, but then the further we get from World War II, and you're like, this whole being an empire thing is it's gonna come crashing down at some point.
Yeah, and it will. It
Yeah.
will. It'll come crashing down hard.
Yeah. Well, I'm curious as to what. So you were in for 4 years,
3 years.
3 years.
Yeah, I would have probably done more. I actually was getting ready to drop a packet to try and go to Ranger School and to maybe try out. I'm not going to say I would have made it. I doubt I would have, but try out for Delta. They have an opportunity where you can do. They call it the long walk.
Mm-hmm.
So instead of going through special forces and doing all of that, and then going, you can just go straight in. And we had plans, me and my buddies and my leaders. We were like, we want to do this kind of thing, and we want to make it work. And then all of a sudden, I wasn't able to shoot anymore. It took me a long. I lost. I used to be able to shoot with both hands, like left and right. I was on top of it, and I lost basically all motor function that I had with my left hand. So I went from being able to write legibly and everything to having to relearn how to catch and throw a football. So it really kind of took me out of the fight for a little bit. Well,
yeah.
for the rest of my career.
That sucks. Yeah, that's shitty. Yeah, because like that, you don't just become Delta. You don't even just become a paratrooper. That's still like every time you add another level, it's the training gets more intense and the weeding out process becomes more targeted.
Yeah.
And so like when you get to like you're getting ready to make that trip and then it's just done. That's shitty. How'd you handle that?
Not well. I met my now ex-wife during it, and so she kind of picked up a lot of the slack that I had dropped. So until we split, I really didn't know, how much I was really down outside of like the physical issues. Definitely threw a huge curveball. I mean, that was my identity, for better or for worse. That was who I was. I was a soldier, and I was damn good at it.
Yeah.
And losing that really kind of threw me for a loop. I didn't know what I was supposed to do, what I was supposed to be wanting to do. I wanted to be better, and I didn't want to leave. But the Army was like, we can't, you're a liability now.
Yeah.
What happens if you lose hearing or vision in the middle of a firefight? Then you're just dead weight.
Yeah. Yeah. And then that's one thing about the Army is they, when you're not needed, they don't care a whole lot. It's sorry about your bad luck, get out, and you're lucky if you get sorry about your bad luck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got really lucky because it was technically the Army's fault. So, I got injured on what they consider on paper a combat, exercise, and so I walked away financially stable for the rest of my life, but mentally and everything else is still a little iffy.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like you're doing better than you were anyways, so
yeah,
that's
absolutely.
That's a plus. That's a plus. You physically are you kind of about back to normal or
close to it? I don't think I'm ever going to have the same ability that I had with my left hand before. The ability to kind of be ambidextrous and but I'm still I'm back on a horse. I'm back working back in the saddle, and that's been helping a lot too. Is the balance part of it was kind of a big issue because it really screws those TBIs, especially if they're in that frontal lobe or right here. They really can screw with your balance, and so that was a big thing that I worked on, and I've put a lot of physical therapy and a lot of time into making sure that I was good.
Yeah. My dad always said growing up when we were working with horses, he said sweat lubricates the brain, and I think that that's 100% true for horses as well as humans. Like it just, I don't know. I don't know. There's a reason why I think just dudes should work out. Like just get sweaty. Like it's good for you. It there's just I don't know. There's like I'm figuring this out with my son too, because he's teaching him how to like just grit your teeth a little bit and keep going. Because if you do,
through
it's better on the other side. Like it's worth it once you do. But it's just that teaching that just the mental toughness to get through it is one thing, and I don't know. It's it's one of the reasons I'm really glad he we got him in wrestling, and because there's nothing worse than getting your ass kicked in wrestling. Like that is the absolute worst.
Absolutely. My dad was a wrestler, and my mom's cousin's kids were like two of the best wrestlers the state of Wisconsin has ever seen.
Wisconsin's got a lot of good wrestlers too.
Oh yeah, that corn fed out there. Um, and I remember because my dad taught me a few moves. I had some friends who were wrestlers. This was when I was still pretty young, and so these guys, they must have been like 5, 6, years older than me. They were pretty big compared to me, and I was trying to fight them. And I remember I got put in a chokehold, scared the crap out of me. I went back for more. They put me in a banana lock. I was like, that's done, And then they got me in an arm bar, and I'm like, I'm never gonna fight somebody on the ground again. I'm just gonna cheat,
Yeah.
That taught me. I'm not like they were always preaching. You gotta have your combatives, and I'm like, I don't have to have combatives if I'm fast with my knife or my sidearm.
Yeah.
I would rather. I know how to overpower someone, but if you know what you're doing, if you're coming at me and you know how to take me down, and you're of equal strength to me, I'm not gonna keep an even playing field.
Yeah.
I'm gonna find a way to overpower it. But I remember my buddy, he was like JV like state champion in Colorado. His senior year, is a year older than us. And I remember I had finally I hit my growth spurt and I kind of filled out.
Yeah.
And so from going from being a beanstalk to more of like a tight end kind of busy, like big thing. And I remember I just took him down. He tried to do a little monkey thing on me and I just flipped him over and laid on him.
Yeah.
I was like, if I can't do that to everybody I fight, I'm going to make sure that I don't have to fight anybody like that.
Yeah. I guess it'd probably be the last bar fight I got into was up in Montana, and it was a kid was a wrestler, and I'd wrestled a little bit in high school, so he shot a takedown. I just sprawled, and he was way smaller than me, so I sprawled, hit him in the belly a couple times, and then just laid there. And I was like, hey, I'm done whenever you are, like this ain't going anywhere. I'll legit hurt this guy if I keep going.
Yeah.
And I was not big either. I mean, that was when I was in Montana, and it'd have been about 6 months before I tried out to go to the Marines. So I was in pretty good shape, but I didn't weigh a whole lot. I was 165, 170 maybe. And this kid, I don't know, he had to have been like $115 soaking wet,
Yeah.
And, it's like I admire the grit, but this is not going to end well for you if we keep going. So I just kind of laid there, and they I remember in high school I had to wrestle some pretty stout kids, like really good wrestlers too, and that sucked so bad. It's just like you can't do anything. They're on you. They got their armpit like right in your face, and and you're just like, there's not a goddamn thing you can do about it. You're just like, the only way you can make this not suck so bad is to get better at it. And I told my kids that. It's like that with wrestling. There's it's one thing to lose a football game, it's one thing to lose a baseball game, but it just get worked in a wrestling match, that sucks so hard. And you don't get over that without getting better. Like that's the only way. You have to get better.
I think it's the same thing that kind of goes with everything. You get your your ass handed to you in anything. And unless it's just a fluke, you made a couple mistakes and you let your guard down. The only way to prevent that from happening is to get better. Or to cheat.
Yeah, that too. So like my daughter when the tournament we went to here a couple weeks ago, she got worked for she had 4 matches. The first 3, the girls were pretty good. Had wrestled quite a little bit. And they didn't make it out of the first round. She got pinned. But she didn't really get, like, she was getting frustrated. She was like, I just want to win. The last girl that she had to wrestle, she won that match, essentially, but the points didn't say so. Like, she dominated the whole time. But she just got frustrated and forgot all of her, like, kept going for the head, The takedown was there, like it was, she was giving her everything except her head. And it's like, shoot for the legs one time, please. Just shoot for the legs. And the girl ended up getting an escape, and that was she lost by 1 point. And it's like, well, what'd you learn? And she's like, this is not fun. Well, get better and it will be.
Get better and it will be. It's real fun to put the hurt on people. I like fighting people in that 165 and below weight class because I can throw them around.
Yeah.
I learned enough combatives and enough wrestling over the years that I can throw a steer around. I can bulldog enough to help me out in the pen, and that's all I need. I'd rather trade blows. I fell out of a plane and my head was still fine. All right. It takes
I got a chin.
Feet. It takes gravity and a 45-mile-an-hour impact to knock me out. So.
Yeah. That'll do it. I've only been knocked out cold once, I think, and that was a handyman jack to the side of the jaw. But I've had a few concussions over the years, but I got a pretty stout chin. I may not hit very hard, but I can absorb a punch, and I still got pretty decent cardio. I ran 6 miles a day at a 8:30 pace. So for 38 years old, I was like, I'm doing all right.
Yeah, I'd say
doing all right.
I'd say so. I'm down in Florida right now. Until May when I'm going out to Texas and then up to Wyoming in the fall. But down here it's so easy. I ran a mile the other day at like a 6:30 and I wasn't feeling it, and I was like, oh man. And then I went home for Christmas, and aside from the cold air, I was like, oh, I'm dead. This Colorado air is killer.
Yeah, that elevation really makes a difference. Like, I don't know. I'm kind of like you. I grew up in it, so you didn't notice it until you go down to like sea level, and then it's like drinking's easier too. Like it's so much harder to get drunk at sea level.
Oh yeah, it's. I remember when I went to basic training. I woke up the morning I went to basic, in Wyoming, and then the next day, we're running, and I'm out of shape. I put on like a college 30. I was probably about 230.
That's a good 30 though. That's a good 30.
It was great. All I did with my time was drink and ride, and I wasted so much of my time but it was worth it. And I go down there and I outweigh these skinny kids. There was a guy I raced track against in high school at one of those Air Force indoor meets. He was from Mexico, and he actually was in my basic training class. And he and I were keeping pace with each other. And he was in shape. He had been running in college, and I was out here looking like a lineman running a 6-minute mile, hardly breaking a sweat.
How tall are you?
I'm 6'3". I'm a big boy.
6'3". Yeah, so you can stride it out, cover some ground. My frame is like 5'10", my 5'9", 5'10", but like my wingspan's about 6 foot. My legs are fair. I got like a shrunken torso kind of. So like I'm built for like striding, and then like I'm good at horseback because I got longer limbs, I guess. Is
yeah.
Kinda... But when I was in like junior high, I'd run like the 800 was my event, and I medaled every meet, won it several times, and then I didn't run track again till I was I guess I was a senior in high school. All those guys I used to run against in eighth grade, they all got really tall, like beanpole type frames, and I was still short and stocky. And yeah, I didn't have I wasn't meant to be a distance runner. Like I can keep a pace pretty good, but like to win races like that, nah, I couldn't. I couldn't keep a minute quarter mile going like that type of pace is insane, you know.
I don't know if have you ever heard of the Simplot games up in Idaho?
I've heard of it, yeah.
Huge indoor track meet in Pocatello. I think that's Idaho State, I want to say.
I think so, yeah.
Because Idaho's in Moscow.
Mm.
But I remember, so my junior year, I transferred high schools. And the high school I went to, we had an indoor track team. Like the big focus at this school that I went to was track. That like they were a sports school, and track was one of the ones that we were the best at in the state. And so we go out there, and it's a wooden track and it's banked. So it's like a NASCAR track with the banks on the curves, but you weren't allowed to wear spikes if you were running a distance event. I had not since my freshman year of high school run a race without spikes.
Oh.
The way I'd take off, I would always end up with like heat blisters. Like my feet basically melted off because I gripped the ground. I just pulled myself forward. And so I go to start, and the gun goes off, and I slipped. My foot went straight out behind me because I was wearing like these cross country shoes. But I remember I was killing it. My first 800 I ran it at 2:12 in the mile, and then I finished at like a 4:48 because nobody could keep up with me in my heat. I got kind of the shit end of the stick there, and so I had a 100-yard lead by the time I finished, and I was going fast, but not fast enough.
Yeah.
That was crazy trying to I remember that slit, you know.
Yeah.
I was like, "Oh, I'm screwed." And they were already it's a 200-meter track, so they were already 50 yards ahead of me almost. Some of them until I was able to take off. You know, it cost me a couple seconds for sure.
That's crazy. I think I ran a 5:42 at Lyman when I was in my senior year of high school. That's the fastest I've ever ran a mile, and I got 5th place. I was like, I puked after that, and I was like, I can't. If I ran myself to puke and I still can't even get like the actual medals, this is not my event anymore.
I don't know what it was. I was just born to run long distance. That was my thing. I'm quick, sure.
Yeah.
But you know, I in a game of soccer, I'm a guy you don't have to sub out.
Yeah.
But you know, when it comes to speed, I'm not catching anybody. I'm gonna catch them at the end of the game when they're gassed.
Right. That's me. Yeah. Like I can keep a pace. But I could run those distances. No, I mean, I won't say no problem. I can get it. I'm too dumb to quit. I'm just not. The speed part's not there.
I mean, that's kind of how it is. My best friend, he's in the Marines right now. He's deployed on that boat. I guess I don't know where he is now, but the one that's over on the MEU that's supporting the group in Yemen right now.
Oh, okay. So he's somewhere in the Indian Ocean.
Somewhere, or he was. He might be on his way back now. Who knows? But he's about 6 foot, but it's all torso.
Yeah.
So he has the legs of a 5'8" man, but his torso is super long. So he can outlift. He can maybe outswim me at this point. But when it came to running, you know, I'd just take off and he couldn't keep up. But it's about body shape. You know, it's the same reason I can't ride bulls anymore. Yeah. My torso got long after my legs stopped growing and my torso kept growing, and then I wasn't able to sit on them the same way. You know, I started looking like one of those car dealership inflatable.
The wacky waving inflatable. Yeah, that I only got on one bull ever, and that was plenty for me. But I was I guess I always had pretty decent balance, and then I got long enough levers compared to the rest of my body that I was able to ride bucking horses decent. But I never rode competitively bucking horses wise, but I've always been able to, for the most part, get by something that wants to buck.
Yeah, I used to be pretty decent on bucking horses, and then I had to then I kind of stopped riding them. The last one I rode, I won, but at least in an arena. I've ridden the other day, so I kind of going to where I wanted to talk to you. I've been going to this equine therapy ranch that's run by a vet, 4 vets, and they kind of let me work the horses. And one of the trainers, she was like, "Hey, this horse needs to be ridden. She's not been. Every time you get up in the saddle, she bolts." And I was like, "Yeah, I'll do some cowboy stuff, absolutely." And so we've got her in the round pen. We don't have an arena out there per se, because it's Florida. It's just sand. It's also a small operation.
Yeah.
And so we're in the round pen just so she can't just take off. But she decides that since she's in the round pen, she doesn't want to bolt today. She wanted to buck. And so I swing up in the saddle, and I've got my left foot in the stirrup, and I'm not even on the saddle yet. She starts taking off, and then she starts bucking. So I'm sitting on her ass. My left hand is hanging onto the reins and the saddle horn, and I'm getting bucked. I'm not even in the saddle, and I got thrown forward. So like when you're on a horse and you're not expecting to buck, you don't realize how bronky it's getting. She got so bronky, I got thrown in front of her.
Oh shit!
And she ran past me. So I spent 4 hours on her, making sure she wasn't going to do that again.
There's always that moment, like when you swing your leg up, and if nothing stupid happens, everything kind of slows down for a minute while you catch your stirrup. But then there's those times when that doesn't happen, and they just shit fires off, and you're like, fuck.
It's like, I'm done. I'm not dealing with you today. And I was like, all right.
Yeah. I have got to take a piss super bad, so we'll pause this, but then we'll come back. I want to hear about this operation you got going on.
Yes, sir.
We're back. So,
all right.
How'd you get hooked up with this equine therapy deal?
So I had done a little bit of research into it, especially dealing with the stuff that I was dealing with the PTSD and the issues I was having physically, and how that was helping vets. And one day, I kind of had a big mental break, ended up being listed as a missing person. I just decided to drive as far as I could until I ran out of money, and ended up in the middle of nowhere, Mississippi.
No shit. Where did you start?
Panama City Beach, Florida.
Okay.
Yeah, so I made it pretty far, but I was out of money. I ended up throwing my phone out the window so the government couldn't track me, so nobody knew where I was. Nobody had any idea which direction I was going. But when I got back from that, kind of picked myself back up, I was like, I can't do this. I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to put my parents through hell. I put my friends through hell. I've got a friend, she's studying abroad, and she got the call, and she thought that, I had died. She was busy dealing with that. She's like, no one knows where he is. I would have been the fifth person in my unit. I would have been the second retired guy, and then the 5th overall to kill themselves last year. And I was like, I'm not going to do that. I'm tired of losing my friends. I'm tired of feeling, like I'm out of options, and something that's always helped.
I'm here. I'm just putting you up on the screen.
historically for me at least, has been horses. Being on a horse, I've never felt a truer sense of freedom except for falling through the sky with a parachute. And so I wanted to try to see if there's anything around me that did stuff like that would be able to kind of facilitate that. And I was lucky. I found this guy who had started. He was in for about 40 years, and he was a chaplain. And he had started this, because he had been through hell. As a chaplain, you're seeing everybody. Mm-hmm. It's not. You're not just seeing, the soldiers, within your unit go. You're seeing their families when they have issues. You're seeing their children. You're seeing all this, and he was fed up with it too.
You're seeing all the combat shit plus all of the other just bullshit that people have.
Exactly. And so he started this. It's about 40 minutes out of town, up north, where they rescue the horses. And not all of them are rideable. A lot of them are like old, lawn ornaments. Their owners got too old to take care of them. They got too fat or too skinny or whatever. You can't ride them anymore. But he had no idea what he was doing going into it. He just knew that was something that had helped people. And so he got in contact with the VA and was able to have like a therapist come out and facilitate, therapy for the vets, and work the horses and everything. And I got lucky that, it was close enough to me that it was kind of almost an everyday thing.
Yeah.
And it's kind of given me a little direction. I was in college so that I could take over my ex-wife's family business, down the road. And, that was no longer there. I was like, well, my only skills are shooting and riding horses. That's not going to be put much use now in 2023. And it kind of gave me a little bit renewed sense of purpose, what I want to do. And so I've started building the foundation of my own. And you can see it on the screen. I've called it the Chandler Project, named after my friend Chandler, who is one of my groomsmen. He lost his fight with his demons last March. And it kind of rocked. It was one of those that it rocked my world, and it was a surprise, but at the same time it was like not a surprise.
Yeah.
And knowing that in my head, I carried a lot of that guilt with me, like as if it was something that it was my fault, even though it wasn't. He would have done it or he wouldn't have, and he did. Nothing I could do about it. I wasn't even in the state anymore. But my goal with this is to ensure that doesn't happen to anybody else.
Yeah.
And I've also known, I've worked the National Western Stock Show. I've worked, on ranches up in the Laramie Valley, up in Albany County, Wyoming. And I've seen friends on the ag side die, and lose their battles with demons or die, and their families are left to pick up the pieces because they were, doing something stupid or just something stupid happened. And so I want to be able to not just serve veterans. I don't want to just serve, whatever community I'm in. I'm trying to serve, the ag community. I'm trying to serve veterans. I'm trying to serve the people around wherever I'm going to set this up. But, what I'm kind of coming to a quandary at, I know how I'm going to help the vets, and it's by I'm going to put them on a horse and I'm going to tell them to go work cows with me, and I'm going to yell at my friends.
Yeah.
But I know that a lot of the cowboys I worked with are not going to want to come out to my ranch to just do what they do for money, for free or whatever. And so what I've been trying to figure out is how I can manage to fit all of these things into one box, how I'm going to be able to help all these different people from all these different walks of life. Cause I'm about plumb tired of losing my friends, Matt. I really am. I'm tired of funerals, especially funerals for people my own age, people who, who aren't old. And
right.
So that's kind of what my focus is. I had a meeting with the National Western the director of partnership, talking about putting their name on it and what they can offer and how they can help. And I've talked with the USDA, and I'd met with this guy from El Paso who puts on charity concerts that will promote, whatever the thing is. And I'm working that side pretty well, but I want to be able to make sure that when I get this up and running, I'm not leaving somebody in the lurch.
Yeah. Well, it sounds awesome. Because I'm the same way with you on, like, I'm tired of losing people that we shouldn't be losing, whether it's suicide, whether it's drinking themselves to death, whether it's just getting too damn fat and dying of diabetes at 55. There's too many of those that we're just like, I'm tired of it. And that's where, like, have less and less tolerance for like people that just like, yeah, I was fat and out of shape my own damn self. I'm still not where I want to be, but like, it's not that damn hard just to move your body and live a few years longer,
Absolutely.
And maybe not have a pile of medical bills that you got to leave off to your kids because you just didn't want to sweat a little bit,
Yeah, I do.
And the same thing, it just like it goes the same way with the booze. Like, all right, drink 6 less beers and go run a couple miles, or go lift some weights, go do something. Go get on another horse instead of delay your beer start time by a half hour and ride another horse.
Yeah.
And
I think it's something that people are kind of forgetting how to do.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people would rather be lazy than to fix their own issues. I know I've been there.
Mm-hmm.
The therapy thing isn't something I'm necessarily a fan of needing, because I still see it as something, as wrong as it is something that I shouldn't need. I should be stronger than what I'm going through, but that's not really the case. I know people who have lost, their dads because the price of cattle dropped and he just couldn't handle that. And so he figured, sell the ranch, sell the cattle, and let my kids collect the insurance, because that's easier. And that's a temporary problem with a permanent solution.
Yeah.
And it is lazy, in my personal opinion, to be like, well, I can solve it like this. Sure you can. You can. But it doesn't solve it it makes a problem for somebody else.
Yeah. Well, and I had this, I posted a poll the other day on Italy banning fake meat, this lab meat stuff. And part of me is really thrilled that some action is being taken, but also I feel like banning it is an incredibly lazy move, particularly coming from the ag community. I think it is far more productive to do the work and either ridiculing it, mocking it, or outright explaining why this stuff is terrible. But do that work instead of just saying, nope, you can't do that, because it just, let it fail on its own. I think it's bound to fail. But the more we take like steps towards restricting shit like that, the more suspicious people get about agriculture, and they're already suspicious about agriculture. And so I let your own product stand on its laurels. Win the argument. And
absolutely, I agree with that.
and I think there's so much to be said about like all parts of whatever it is. Like if making your ranch work in this economy. I mean, it takes sacrifice. It takes a lot of fucking work, and sometimes it takes doing shit that you have no idea where it's gonna end up. You're just like, I don't know, but whatever I have been doing is not working. So like, and it's like I'm tired of seeing small farmers and ranchers just go out of business too, because for whatever reason, I hate to see it. I fucking hate to see it, and how much of it could have been prevented by doing either doing a little extra work or working a little harder on something, some other aspect, and it just, I don't know. It just, there's a lot of lazy, and I'm as guilty of it as anybody else, but man, it just, a lot of lazy.
Yeah, I see it, with the amount of effort people are putting in. I hadn't been to the stock show since 2020, the last year that I worked it before I was in the Army. And the amount of people who weren't there. And when I asked, my buddies who were, I was like, where are these guys? They're like, oh yeah, their ranch folded, their operation's done. They can't afford to make it out here anymore.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, why? They're like, oh, they made bad decisions. I was like, well, how hard is it to make the right decision, really?
Yeah.
Is it just a matter of uneducation? Is it a matter of lack of effort? Is it a matter of my biggest thing? I'm not anti-capitalist by any means, but I'm definitely anti-corporate capitalist.
Mm-hmm.
And these corporate ranches, like express ranches, and these companies like that are just buying up all this land and all of this, buying out these people. They're out competing them.
Mm-hmm.
Because they can afford to drop their beef prices by $1.
Yep.
I know a family down in Oxford, Mississippi, or outside of it, who has a family farm, and they used to be the people who sold to the grocery stores down there. But then the grocery stores got bought out by Kroger. Kroger had its corporate ranches already set up,
Mm-hmm.
and so they can only sell at farmers markets at a quarter of the amount that they used to produce at a fraction of what they used to be able to make.
Yeah, it's it really is like that. Like when you get into that corporate stuff, it's gross. How it all works out. I mean, the Tyson story. It's it's an American story. That dude scratched and clawed and made something out of nothing, created a monster that I don't know if it can ever be stopped.
I don't know if it ever will.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, and it's cyclical too, because when Chicago first was a boom town, it was there was Packers everywhere, and eventually they consolidated, and there was the Big Four, and here we are again. They split them up, and but not, kinda, really, not really, and then it just, yeah, it's always been kind of like that. And when you talk about the corporate ranches, man, all the big ranches have always been some sort of corporate owned. They're a lot of foreign investment, and like a lot of them were publicly traded.
Yeah, you're not seeing places like the Yellowstone. Those don't exist. Those haven't existed for at least 50 years.
Mm-hmm.
I know the White family out in Kansas. They're the biggest family owned family owned ranch in Kansas, and they're not the biggest top. They're not in the top 5 anymore.
Yeah.
And what's to say that eventually they won't exist anymore. They're fighting the same things that the Duttons are fighting. They're fighting these people who are coming in. Maybe not so much in Wamego, Kansas.
Yeah.
But these places, like especially in Colorado, you're not seeing spreads anymore. You're not.
Mm-mm.
You're not even. I was looking. I was like, well, maybe I want to do it in Colorado so I could be close to the Air Force bases and the Army base. And I couldn't afford the land, let alone land close enough to enough BLM land to have grazing rights.
Mm-hmm.
You're cutting. It's a continual government and corporate push for these small time farmers and ranchers to up and leave.
Yep. It's when you look on the farm side of it, it's it's vertically integrated all to hell. The you got the ag credit bank, which is like owned by a John Deere dealership and seed companies, and it's all subsidized too. So it's I don't know. I don't even know what the answer to all of it is, but I just know, I know that I dislike the corporations about as much as I dislike the governments, and I don't like the governments at all.
Yeah. I cannot. I mean, I'm looking at a state like Wyoming where it's like the last vestige of anti-tourism,
Hmm.
pro constituent government, that you might find anywhere.
Yeah.
Places like Colorado, even Montana now, are more focused on how they can grow their state rather than how they can ensure that their state and the people who live there are safe and can live.
Yeah.
Wyoming's the
Yeah.
only state where you can live on the minimum wage now, from what I've seen. You can live making 7.25 a week or an
Yeah.
hour, and have a decently comfortable life.
Yeah.
You can't do that in Colorado. I mean, you have to live off the Colorado minimum wage, which is like $15. Down here in Florida, it's the same way because they've just added all this tourism. They've taken away from the from the old way. People are starting to live on the land instead of with it more and more everywhere you go.
Yeah. There's just a lot of fucking people, man. A lot of people. And I don't know how that all plays out. Like, because Florida is, I mean, it's a booming state. Like, people are moving like in droves to Florida,
Yeah,
particularly after after COVID. But it was growing before then too.
yeah, it definitely was. It's been on the up and up. Tourism and development is been their biggest business. It used to be agriculture.
Hmm.
All throughout the South, and now with rise of places like Miami and Orlando and Tampa, these big urban areas where there's corporate jobs. People are coming and they need somewhere to live. So then the guy who's been putting his there used to be a ranch out here, even in outside of Panama City, where up until like the late '90s, until this big land development company bought it, this rancher ranched on the beach. That was his land right up
Yeah.
there. It's it's taken away from the old way of life, and it's this Eastern American kind of view of we're just going to stick as many people as we can in this tiny little area until we can't, and then we're going to spread out.
Hmm. Yeah. It's really we gotta. I mean, we're like the Indians. We got overrun, and there's nothing we can do to stop it. There's uh there's just not enough of us. But we're um unlike the Indians, the rest of the country kind of needs the agriculture people. So they and I'm not trying to sound uh racist. I'm trying to sound realist. Like the Indians didn't matter to to the U.S. government, so they could go ahead and starve them out. They can't really starve the farmer and the rancher out too much, or they starve themselves out. Um, I don't know. It's I think there's a huge generational gap for sure. But with like the more these boomers start to age out of politics and stuff, I think we're gonna see a huge realignment in in local politics, state politics. The federal government's huge, so it's very slow to change. But shit can happen quick once. So I don't know how all that's going to turn out, but I think particularly like my generation, your generation, and Generation X in particular, they um, got a real big wake up call with COVID and saw how fragile shit is, and you're seeing a resurgence of small like homestead type farms. Um, And is that going to be a huge impact on things? No, not initially, but give it a little bit. It took the Free State Project a long time before it saw any fruition in New Hampshire, but New Hampshire's libertarian as fuck now with and just in the course of about 10 years.
Yeah.
And at least as far as their laws go, that they are and their politicians, their state politicians are libertarian as shit.
Yeah. The thing I've noticed with the kids and my generation and is a big push towards environmentalism.
Mm-hmm.
Is a big push towards living with the land instead of living off of it, and pushing out from these developments and everything. Like, sure, I mean, I would love to be a trillionaire and buy the city of Denver and tell everybody to move and burn all their houses down to the ground and start over, you know. But that's not possible. So how are we gonna keep what we have that's dwindling? How are we gonna keep that preserved? And I really think that we're moving in the right direction in some aspects.
Yeah.
And I think, in terms of immediate effect, we do have some good prospects for that. But, when it comes to the overall big overarching thing, we're losing that fight still.
Yeah.
We're still always going to have Tysons and Purinas and expresses, to lobby for, their fair share or a not so fair share of the pie.
Yeah. And, what was really disappointing to see was how little impact like alternative media played in the Iowa caucus. Like Vivek went on every major podcast outside of like Rogan, I think, but like he hit a lot of big ones, and still less than 8% of the vote. And like how much of that is Trump? How much of that? But still, DeSantis and Nikki Haley, who nobody likes, got 20%. And
DeSantis
Vivek
is not even in the race anymore.
Yeah.
After fighting with Trump the whole time, giving him his little endorsement for whatever that's worth, I think DeSantis is a moron.
Yeah, he's I was looking at him after the COVID deal, and I was like, maybe this guy's a serious individual. And then his campaign rolled out, and I was like, oof.
Yeah.
And then he had that whole fight with Disney and kind of got his ass kicked.
Absolutely got his ass whooped.
And I was just like, oof. I don't know if I would have picked that fight.
Disney's got their rights written into the Florida Constitution.
Mm-hmm.
You're not screwing with Disney. Disney has more lawyers than you could ever hope to produce out of the state of Florida.
Yeah, well, and they have the Florida economy as well. I mean,
exactly. I mean, half of the tourism in Florida is based in Orlando, a city that's landlocked because of Disney and Universal and these media, empires. Like, why fight that?
Yeah.
Why make that your fight? Why not make it the land developer who continually builds crap houses that are going to be destroyed in the next 2 years when we have a real hurricane blow through here again, like they did the last time there was one?
Right.
Why not, pick a fight with somebody who's just as big of a bear as you instead of one that's huge? It's like a black bear fighting a Kodiak.
I just thought it could have been handled so much better than
absolutely. There were definitely ways to get Disney to concede some of their stuff.
Mostly, you just have to talk about it, because like the stuff he was pushing back on him was all the like the trans bullshit, which I agree should have pushed back on it. But like using the force of government to ban something is usually the least optimal way to go about it.
Doesn't matter what side you pick in terms of the political divide. If the government starts trying to do stuff against what you like, you're not going to stand for it. It doesn't matter. And eventually, the government keeps doing that. They're going to start, that divide's going to get smaller and smaller.
Yeah. But you can, as the governor with the bully pulpit, be like, hey, I am really not impressed that this girl whose family spent all this money to come to Florida to take her to Disney World was greeted by Snow White with a mustache. All right? I think we can all agree that we shouldn't treat people with disrespect in our day-to-day lives, but I think we can also agree that this is not normal. We don't have to celebrate this. And in fact, you guys are going to lose business, which is bad for me, so I wish you'd stop. It's, and you could do it in a funny way. You could do it in a way that would make sense, but you can use the bully pulpit. That's what Trump's the best at, is just beating the bully pulpit.
That's all he does.
And
Trump is basically a Southern Baptist preacher from New York.
Pretty much. 2 Corinthians.
Yeah.
He's an effective communicator. Like that's and Ron DeSantis was not. Oof. He was and yeah, I don't know. He's a little slimy. He did some good work as governor, but then he also he picked some fights that I didn't really get. He got his ass handed to him, and then the presidential race. I don't know if he I would imagine he'd probably get reelected in Florida, but there's only some. I think there's probably two-term limit or something like that in Florida. So
yeah,
once you're done, you're done. And I don't know what his national ambitions, maybe senator or something, but because I don't see him being much of
a politics.
Yeah, I don't see him being much of a driving force in national GOP politics anytime soon. I mean,
GOP is in shambles.
Yeah, it's
half of them, are starting to lean more and more towards the Ron and Rand Paul, side of things, and the other half are like Trump is God above everything. It goes Trump, God, family, country.
I know it.
I'm like, well, how can you? It's interesting to see the politics. It's like looking at some of these guys who get elected. I'm like, did you take a political science class? Did you take a government class when you were in high school, let alone in college?
Yeah.
You're claiming, to be this anti-government, small government focused on the person, and then in the same breath you're turning and then proposing bills that increase federal spending, increase taxes on everybody but you and your lobbyist buddies.
Yep.
It doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. Where these people are figuring where they get off,
Yeah. It's I don't know, man. It's a really dicey time. It feels like, and part of me is somewhat relieved that America is so damn fat because that lessens the chance of being actual domestic, internal violence. Just because of sheer obesity that plays I guess that's a good thing about obesity. But like this shit with Trump, if it wasn't such a cartoon world that we live in, like this is some really serious shit this road that we're headed down, and it's like nobody that's in any position of power to do something about it is aware, or they're just oblivious to it. They're just like, no, we can just do this and people will go along.
It's like what was that? Dang. I mean, it's really like the Politburo in Soviet Russia. It's
Mm-hmm.
very much like, well, if you're not with the GOP, you're against it. You're not a Republican anymore. We're not going to support you. If you're not with the Democrats,
Mm-hmm.
on every single issue, it's like the only. I watched a comedian made this joke. But basically, Republicans and Democrats, if the Republicans support A, Democrats hate A. If
Yeah.
Democrats support B, Republicans hate B. But the only thing that they've figured out how to be all about is that the Palestinian children aren't, Palestinian people aren't people.
Right.
And I thought that was interesting. It's like, if even if that's not necessarily the case, it's interesting because the things that they align themselves together on and have bipartisan support for are the most stupid things that don't have the support of their constituents.
Yeah.
I still have yet to completely understand why we as a people pick these people to vote for us, and then when they do vote for us, it's hardly ever, with how the people who voted for them would vote.
Yeah.
I honestly, I can't imagine. I feel like there's a better way, a better system. So Colorado says this, the people of Colorado vote for this, and me and my three other, senators, however much we have in Colorado, will vote for this because that's,
Yeah.
even if I didn't vote for it, my vote was cast.
Mm-hmm.
Representation rather than
Yeah.
representatives, because you're not voting. You're voting for whoever pays you the most, whoever's exceeding your 100 grand a year salary, so you can live in
Yeah.
whatever lavish luxury with your 6 drivers and fancy cars and your kids in Ivy League prep schools.
Yeah.
I, it's I mean, corruption has become so diluted.
Yeah. I
That
mean,
truly is corruption is no longer seen as corruption.
I literally have a Nancy Pelosi stock tracker portfolio that all I do is put money in this account and they buy the stocks and sell the stocks that Nancy Pelosi does. And
I
I'm
bet you will
up
make some good money.
I'm up like 20%
I
since the
Lockheed
end of
Martin. That's
October.
where my dad works.
Yeah.
When my dad's like, "Oh, I'm taking a business trip to this," I'm like, "Hey, if my friends have stock in Lockheed Martin or can afford to put stock down, they're like, hey, go buy Lockheed."
Yeah.
As soon as the shit with Russia kicked off, I was like, "Buy Lockheed." You're gonna
Yep.
make more money on that than you ever could have imagined with GameStop,
Yep. Raytheon, Lockheed, General Dynamics.
Northrop Grumman, the whole
Yep.
9 yards.
Yep. And then yeah, so I'm looking at my Nancy Pelosi tracker, and it is, yeah, it's up 20.5% since the end of October. Yeah, and it's blatant corruption, but I'm at the point now where it's like, fuck it, the ship's going down. I'm grabbing everything valuable I can on the way to the lifeboat.
That's kind of all you can do.
Yep, and
I'm just really excited because my two skills are going to do great in the apocalypse.
yeah,
When shit goes south, I can ride a horse and I can shoot, and I'm going to do just fine.
yeah. See, I'm gonna make enough. I'm gonna make friends with enough guys that can shoot. That I can feed an army. And I'll plink where I have to, but I'll leave the shooting up to the shooters. I'm good with cows.
My uncle has some land up in out by Fairplay, out by where South Park is in Colorado.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a very defensible position. And I've told him this numerous times. And he's like, "Well, what happens? Are we going to do the Christian thing and let them in?" I'm like, "Absolutely." But at the same time, like I'm not going to go out and shoot people. But if they're going to come attack us, everybody who I let in is going to have to be able to shoot. I'm
Right.
not, I'm not about to just let every little so and so in off the street. You know, like there's a lot of streets up there on the Renica Ridge, but
Yeah.
you know, I'm not going to be sacrificing my own personal safety or anybody else's safety for the simple benevolence of it all.
Yeah.
There's no point in ensuring that everybody can survive if someone's going to come in and make sure no one does.
Yep. Yeah, it's I probably think on this stuff more than I should. Get a little paranoid when you start reading the news too much. And but yeah, I think that, and it's like, I'm capable enough, and I'm of the thinking of the early Mormons, where it's like, be self-sufficient, and when it's time, run to the hills and burn everything to the ground behind you.
I don't like the Mormons, but I do like that.
Yeah, I'm not subscribing to any of their faith or whatever, but that part of their faith I think is badass, and I like it.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, and I think the more we can educate people, the more we can ensure that we won't have to run for the hills, because, you know, you can trust your neighbor. You know, that's something that I've noticed that's gone away. My ex was from this little tiny ranching or farming community in western Tennessee.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, it still seemed like you didn't know who your neighbors were. You know, I couldn't trust the guy who lived across the street, you know, to ensure our safety if something happened. And I think that education and community building is something that's really gone away. You know, that we've become more isolated the closer we are together.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. There's plenty of opportunity to build that stuff back up, though. I've noticed that, particularly now that my kids are old enough to get in some different activities, and so like we're in scouts, we're in wrestling, we're in we're in all the cool shit that I used to do too, and I'm just like, that shit's still out there. There's no reason that that my kids can't go do some of that shit too, and if they want to, they can do as much of it as they want. But then on the flip side, I was like, if we're gonna be camping all the time, if like they want to go do this Eagle Scout shit, I'm gonna have to be there with them, and I can't be a fat lazy turd if that's the case. So it's one thing about having kids is if you get them into that stuff, like you kind of want to be there with them, and you got to be in shape, at least some sort of shape to do it. So I think about that, and then I think about if everything does pop off, like I'm in a pretty ideal spot. Like we live in a bowl. It's very easily defensible, at least unless from the air. That's always an issue. But outside of that, like we got a river that runs through here with clean water. We got energy. Oil would be an issue. Pretty oil poor out here, but
you don't need
people
oil.
Out in Nevada are pretty self-sufficient.
Wood. You have access to wood. You have access to water. You can keep your horses. You don't need to worry about. My big thing is that people are always like, "Well, how are you going to do for electricity?" I'm like, I don't need it.
Yeah.
I don't need to doom scroll on Instagram, for 8 hours a day. When shit hits the fan, I'm going to be living my best life. It'll be exactly what I've prepared and trained myself for every day of my life. Right. I can hike, I can backpack, I can shoot, I can ride, I can cut down wood, I can, I know enough about construction and architecture, and I can, build my home however I like, and then have an oil lamp, with animal fat, render it with lard. Yeah. There's so many old arts, the way the people who came out to Colorado and Wyoming and Idaho figured out how to make things work, especially on the plains, that We just do what they do. They survive just fine. That's why Colorado is the way it is. If they couldn't do it, then Colorado would be just like Wyoming.
Yep. Yeah, there was they survived because they had to. And yeah, it's I always think about that, because I'm just well, kind of ADD, kind of slightly autistic, and my mind wanders, and I try to think out these like 30,000 foot view things, and particularly because the more I've researched history, and then the more I've talked to guys like you and Jeremiah and people that have been overseas and seen the real effects of war, and like I realize how insulated we are here. But we saw from 2020, that whole summer, and then leading up to January 6th, like shit gets pretty dicey pretty quick, and we're the most armed nation on earth, and like if shit popped off, I'm headed for the hills because there's not a clear good guy, that's about to reveal their hand.
I think that's how it's going to go. I mean, at my current status as a 23-year-old single man, I can, afford to ride around and roam and explore, and do all this stuff. But, when I settle down, there is going to be, I'm going to ensure that there is protection for me and mine. I'm not going to leave anything up to chance.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
whether or not it's an apocalypse or an economic collapse.
Yeah.
Well,
that's the thing is I don't know what all it's gonna be, but like it's yeah, it feels like we're kind of teetering on the brink of something kind of ugly, and I like my chances because the people with most of the guns I agree with generally about 75% of the of things, give or take. The people that want to take the guns away from people, I don't agree with them on much of anything. But they won't be armed, so I'm not that worried about them.
The only thing I can really agree on some level is mental health.
Yeah.
I know from my own personal experience, I was never a danger to others.
Yeah.
If it wasn't for my pride, I would have been more of a danger to myself.
Yeah.
And I pity the man who would have sold me a gun, when I was in the middle of like at my lowest point, because
Yeah.
I would have, he might not have known, but that's what it would have been used for. It's like at the same time, knowing where I'm at mentally now, I'm like, okay, well, now you can do your whole check on me,
Yeah.
now I'm good. There's people who need it, genuinely need it, and they can't get it. I think there's the same reason, a lot of black people and Hispanic people can't get out of the slums in these big cities, is because they won't sell it to them. Even if I know a guy who I went to basic with, and where he grew up in Detroit, up there,
Yeah.
upper Midwest. He went back, and those laws in Michigan and Illinois are strict, And he's like, well, I'm a veteran, It doesn't matter that right now I'm living at home with my mom while I get, my next steps figured out. I'm a vet, I've passed all the background checks. I've done everything. I just got dishonorably discharged, and they wouldn't pass my background check because of where he lived.
Huh.
Because the only thought was that he's legally owning a firearm to commit crime, because he lived in the ghetto. And it's like, how can we, as a populace say, oh yeah, no, that's okay to do that, but But what happens when some shit between the Crips and the Bloods or whoever? Those are the only two gangs I know aside from MS-13. Shit between them kicks off. What is he gonna do? When they're kicking down his door because his family owes them protection money for not shooting them. All the hell. How are you gonna allow that? And then the other thing too is the same thing with drugs. You make drugs illegal. The more drugs are illegal, the more the bigger that black market gets. Weed in Colorado, illegal sales of it have dwindled to like next to none because the taxes aren't incredibly high, and they've been able to control it, and they've been able to as shitty said. I mean, they forced the cartel to go heavier into heroin, out of Greeley. Because they're like, well, we can't sell weed here anymore because everybody just has an older friend who can go to the dispensary and get it, and they don't have to get it from the guy in the corner.
Yep.
I had a dude who dealt in North Carolina. That was how my wife was able to get her gummies and stuff for her anxiety. Was I knew the guy, like one of the dealers, and he was like, yeah, man, I really hope North Carolina makes it legal because I'm going to open up my own shop so I don't have to deal with all the shit that I'm going through.
Yeah.
You make the more guns you make illegal, the more you're going to find them on the street. I know exactly where I can go get guns. I know exactly what I can do with those guns. With the tools I have and the tools other people have, I can go get them right now without going to a store.
Yeah.
Half the price. It's not conducive to true free society to ensure that the only people armed are the cops and the people who enforce the laws that not everybody agrees with.
Right. Yeah, that's that was the number one reason for the Second Amendment. It was to fight back against a despotic government. Like that's the number one reason. Yeah, it's I mean, well, California is, if they're any indication, they're going to keep trying, but they're losing at like every turn in the courts with the gun control stuff, and I think it's only just a matter of time before they they essentially have constitutional carry as the law of the land, and that'll be awesome because then. Yeah, like you shouldn't have to have a permit to carry a firearm. You have the right to defend yourself, and that's the end of it.
I think that's all you can ask for.
Yeah.
It's people are always like, well, you're a terrorist. You're a conspiracy theorist, and I'm like, no. The government will come, whether that's state or that's federal. They will say, no, we can protect you. They can't protect you.
Right.
They can't protect you in Australia. They can't protect you in the UK. They can't protect you in France. You know where they can protect you? Switzerland. You know why they can protect you? Is because they can ensure that everybody else around them has a firearm.
Yeah.
They can ensure that everybody is trained. I mean, I remember I went to Cherry Creek High School, which is now part of the metro area. It didn't used to be. The old schoolhouse where it was just next to a lake is still there. But there's gun lockers still in those schools. You can still teach basic riflemanship and basic marksmanship safety there.
Yeah.
You can still be like, hey, I'm not going to let you graduate high school without understanding the fundamentals of what a gun is for and how to use one.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing with ag. It's this massive lack of education that has led to this image that guns and firearms have, that they aren't tools. They aren't just something that you can protect yourself with. I mean, if you were to transcribe 1442 to today, or 1424 to today, oh, well, the government says I can't have a sword anymore for my own protection. But what happens when Jack Sparrow and his merry band of marauders come through. How am I going to protect my family if I'm not allowed to have a bow or a sword?
Yeah. Pitchfork is all you got.
And oh well, let me get a cannon right now and a sword. I'll do more damage to a home intruder than 2 shots with a 9mm to the chest.
Yeah.
He'll live through that. I can guarantee you. I know where to put him. He's not going to live through me running him through with a sword and shooting him with an arrow.
Yeah.
They didn't beat Custer with better weapons. They beat him with bows and arrows and the same guns he was using.
Yeah. Yeah, they were they really were incredible war fighters. But they had the odds stacked against them. That was the.
I mean, it was like the Bills versus the Chiefs. You know, the Bills are an incredible team, but the Chiefs are ironically named.
Yeah.
Still going to come out on top.
Yeah, somehow. I mean, it's comes back to the who's got more guns, who's got more food. And soldiers. Like you got to have the soldiers to shoot the guns, you got to have the guns for the soldiers to shoot, and you got to have bullets to feed them and food to feed the soldiers. Like that's the whoever has more of that at the end of it, that's who wins.
I do have an interesting point. So I don't know what kind of kids you graduated with. You know, you graduated a good.
Oh fuck! It's
90,
I'm coming up on 20 years. This will be my 20-year anniversary.
Like 2003. So similar to 2004.
Yeah.
I don't know where did you grow up, Matt?
Southeast Colorado, Walsh, Colorado.
Like Walsh towards Yuma, kind of by Yuma.
Be south of there. You know where Lamar is?
I know where Lamar is. Okay.
Okay, we're another hour and a half south of there.
Okay.
I'm almost Kansas, almost Oklahoma.
Map. I need to have a map of Colorado and Wyoming so I can know exactly. My biological mom and her family, they came out of Yuma.
Okay, yeah. So Yuma's like
south central.
Yeah.
You know, they're on southeastern central. Like the north end of that quadrant, if you want to cut it into fours.
Yeah, they're getting up into like they're closer. Yuma's closer to Sterling than it is to Walsh. So
yeah, okay. Well, I don't know exactly, you know, what kind of school you graduated from, but at least the one I did. I know the people that I went to school with who eventually served in the military. Not all of them are smart.
Right.
They're not critical thinkers. You know, they say the infantry needs people who can point and shoot, but the infantry also needs people who can think about what they're shooting at.
Yeah.
And I think what we've done is with this, the education doesn't stop at firearms. It doesn't stop at agriculture. I mean, it goes so much deeper.
Yeah.
I know kids I served with who couldn't tell me who wrote who spoke the Gettysburg Address.
Huh.
I could tell you, you know, off the top of my head, you know, 5 people I could tell you who discovered, you know, or who really created the foundations of the electricity we see today. And I know all 5 of them would not be able to say Ben Franklin. I know all of them wouldn't even be able to say Thomas Edison if I said who invented the light bulb.
Yeah.
But, you know, and looking at that, I'm like, okay, but we're going to expect them, you know, and as an American people to be like, okay, well, if Darth Vader or whoever our president is decides that the empire needs to be, you know, restructured and, you know, pulls a Brazil or a Colombia or a Mexico and sends the army in domestically, how many of them are going to say, no, I'm not doing that? How many in the National Guard even, you know, say Colorado is going to be like, no, we're going to send the National Guard in to enforce these new laws that we made. And how many of those people are going to be like, you know, I don't feel that this is in line with the Constitution of the nation or my state. You know, I'm not going to come through with this. And how well can we trust that? I don't trust that.
Yeah.
I'm out of the military. I can't, be like, hey, we're not going to do that. I can't be as a leader and say, no, my company is not going to do a freaking Sand Creek massacre. We're not
Yeah.
going to do, we're not going to go into this town and threaten our own people. There are a few times that the National Guard has been deployed, and like domestically, and I can name maybe two of them that I think that were truly justified. The integration in Little Rock, Arkansas, and Kent State, and they
Yeah.
fucked up Kent State.
Yeah.
They rightfully deployed, wrongfully used, absolutely.
Yeah.
But I'm looking at it and I'm like, how can we can't trust our service members anymore to be conscientious enough and intelligent enough to be like, hey, this has happened, multiple times in other countries, and look at how it ended up for them.
Mm-hmm. Well,
How
and
can we truly trust our own military? And I'm a big proponent of the military. I wouldn't tell anybody to join, but I'm a
yeah.
big supporter of the people who do. I did.
Yeah.
I think that in order to truly ensure our freedom and our safety in the future, regardless of a international war that breaches our borders, or tyrannical policy that infringes on our freedom, we can't truly trust our own to protect us without proper
Mm-hmm.
education.
No, that's 100% true. Because I mean, if you look even domestically on the police side of things, you could say the exact same things. A lot of the people we know that went to high school with that became cops are sometimes not real smart. And then there's a whole pile of laws that they have to supposedly know. You know they don't. And then they keep adding more laws on. It makes their job harder. And then essentially the cop is now just is a glorified tax collector. That's all that is. And but yeah, we've seen you can't trust a lot of cops to keep the peace. I mean, lot of unjustified shootings that happen. And so you're like, okay, so what happens when shit actually pops off? Yeah, they're gonna protect their own. That's how it works. That's how it always has worked, how it always will work, unless you change the mindset of those serving.
And I think that in order to do that, you must, it's a community thing. We've
Mm-hmm.
really lost this community. The South, I will say, as much as the small towns in the West still have, maybe not quite as much, still has a pretty decent sense of community. I could
Mm-hmm.
drive through my ex-wife's hometown and I would know everybody I saw. I go in and I do my job for Coca-Cola or whatever, and I would be, I would know everybody in the store and I would know everybody who worked there. They would know me. But the bigger we get, the more urbanization there is. Whether or not you're in an urban area, urbanization is still coming.
Yeah.
The more we allow people to just up and leave, and then we don't. I hate tourists, and I hate people who move to Colorado after the fact. I watched a YouTube video actually, maybe today or yesterday, about why Colorado and Wyoming are so similar and yet so different. Why
Mm.
Colorado has almost 10 times the population that Wyoming does, or five, whatever 500,000 is in 5.8 million.
Yeah. Yeah,
But
11 times.
yeah, you know, and the more we grow like that, the less community we have, because you've got people like me. My my army friends say that I'm a professional hater. It's because I hate on tourists. I hate on people who move to my state. But you see this. I don't know my neighbors in my cul-de-sac where I grew up in the little suburb. I
Mm.
could drive down there right now, and I have no idea outside of like two houses who still lives there.
Yeah.
I don't know. You can't know that. and this lack of community, because this massive, or I guess this new ability to go even further away, go anywhere.
Yeah.
It is, we've lost the ability to create community wherever we go. We've lost the ability lost the desire to. It's easier to keep your community wherever you came from and just travel back to it. Everybody just comes back for a little rendezvous every once in a while. That worked in 1843 when everybody was a fur trapper in Wyoming and Colorado.
Yeah.
It doesn't work now. You have to be able to build a community wherever you are. And in order to build a community, you have to have education. You have to have trust. And this lack of trust and this lack of education is compounding on each other to create this divide where I don't know my neighbor's politics, but I can't trust my neighbor no matter what.
Yeah.
Whether or not his politics align with mine.
Yeah. Yeah, see that is it's a crazy thing about particularly the urban areas, but like the suburban as well. Like, I mean, Colorado's a perfect example of that because I don't recognize it anymore. It got huge and except for the small towns. But even like you go into the Southern Rockies.
Outside Durango.
Yeah, Durango or like down in the Trinidad area, and like yuppies moving in there all the time too. And
yuppies is a good word for them.
And it's just like and there's some really cool people that move into Colorado. Don't get me wrong. There's like nobody ever
think the way we do, or think, or at least their views line, where they don't want, these big developments coming in. They want to teach people about the land and where they're living and how to live with it,
Yeah, what's so funny is, and now I'm a Nevada transplant and rural Nevada, but this valley I'm living in the valley next over, they're booming, and a lot of people moving in from California. So like I was not surprised when I got some cold shoulders when I first moved here, but then it was like I'm here to work at the feedlot, and they're like, "Oh, okay, you're one of us." And
I'm not just here because I can afford to move here and I don't want to deal with, I'm going to bring my politics or my views or whatever, and I'm going to come in here and I'm going to interrupt whatever you've got going on. It's, hey, I would like to join your community. I am, this is who I am. And it's not a lack of honesty. It's a lack of transparency in who people are.
Right. Yeah. And it's also like from, the people that got invaded. It's just like, do you guys not see that you're turning Colorado into California, and you left California to get away from all that? So
and Colorado has never not been a booming town. There's minerals in the mountains, there's oil in the south. There is railroads or transportation. Now there's, in the converse, there's DIA, there's business hubs, there's government jobs. There's more government jobs in Colorado, and more government agencies based in Colorado than anywhere in the United States except for Washington, D.C.
Yeah.
There's jobs, and absolutely come here and work, but don't come here and decide that your community, wherever you left, was so good that you have to make Colorado and wherever you're living that community. You don't need to make Brighton a subdivision. You don't need to make Longmont into Fort Collins and then that whole conglomerate into Denver.
Yeah.
If you like it so much, move down there. And if you can't afford it, get a job that can.
Yeah.
Or go back to wherever it was that, you came from that was like that. But this, I keep seeing on Instagram, especially with the National Western, all of these like little Colorado influencers, and I won't lie, they've got I found some fun things to do, from them. They have their place, but they keep calling like Denver a dirty old cow town. And I have traveled the country. I have been to the Northeast. I've been all over the South, North Carolina, Tennessee, Mississippi, Florida, and never once has anybody looked at me and been like, "Oh, that's just a dirty old cow town." Like,
no, they haven't said that since probably the 50s.
At least, and even then, Colorado still was more of a hub because they moved NORAD and NOAA and the Air Force Academy there. And then the Geological Survey followed and all of these other things that made Colorado ball. The Mason jar people, they came out of Colorado and went into the aeronautics industry. Like it has always been a hub because of the railroad. The railroad came to Denver and went up to Cheyenne and down to Santa Fe. Excuse me, the whiskey is deciding that it wants to get acid reflux. And this kind of lie. It's like, oh yeah, we're not a dusty old cow town anymore. We never really were. We were never a dusty old cow town. Colorado was founded and populated on the backs of mineral prospectors. And Wyoming, absolutely. There are hardly any mineral deposits there. That right there, Cheyenne, is a dusty old cow town and will always be.
Yeah.
Whether or not they move on. But Denver and Colorado never was.
Yeah. No, yeah, it was. You're right. Transportation hub. I mean, calling Denver a dirty old cow town's like calling Chicago a dirty old cow town. Like,
yeah, just because you got a packing plant there and they bring their cows there from the St. Louis stockyards doesn't make it anything.
Yeah.
Fort Worth was a dirty old cow town. Now it's not, and no one's going around saying, well, Fort Worth's just not a dirty old cow town. No one even thinks about Fort Worth as being a cattle hub anymore. No one thinks about Wichita, Kansas being a cattle hub.
No, because there aren't cattle hubs anymore. Like there's because that the industry changed, the trucking,
You've got trucking, you've got railroads that, before trucking, you had railroads that went more places.
Yeah.
You didn't have to drive your cows from El Paso, Texas, all the way up to, Wichita or all the way up to Fort Worth to ship them off. You can ship them off, where you are now.
Yeah. Yeah. The advent of the trucking, of the truck that killed the stockyard,
the
area.
true
I mean, that's there just wasn't a need for it anymore. And it's a shame because, I've talked about this plenty of times, but that history professor I had on a while back, Dominic Pasiga, he talked about. I like
that one.
Yeah, but he talked a lot about that, how that was like a vital break in the connection of urban and rural was when the Chicago Union stockyards closed down, and I think he's right about that. I mean, that's not all of it for sure, but I think that there's something about that, and that was kind of the cool thing about the National Western Stock Show, is like that was, it's like the NFR in Vegas. That's when the Cowboys come to town, and like for whatever reason, like the city of Denver has been consistently trying to get rid of that for a long time.
Yeah, and it's interesting. I don't know. I doubt you've been. I went this year, and they were laying out their foundation like 3 years ago of what they wanted to do, and they still had the historic stockyards down by the river. And it's tough. I mean, you're a stockyards in one of the fastest growing cities in the United States, and has been since World War II finished. But, that's all gone. And they've really been able to find their niche. But at the same time, it's like, if I have cows, say up in Fairplay, right? I'm in that, Jefferson or Park County, in that big valley up there, and I need to sell my cows. I got to take them all the way I got to take them to Greeley now.
Yeah.
I can't just take them, up across the pass. I can't for the life of me think of it, between Alma and Breckenridge, and go down to I-70 and go across to straight over to the stockyards. Even though they've kept it alive, they've cut off its arms and legs,
Mm-hmm.
Denver has. I'm not saying the National Western has. National Western has had to evolve to survive.
Yeah.
Because National Western used to be the daddy of them all. It was bigger than Fort Worth. It was bigger than Houston and bigger than San Antonio in terms of stock show and stock yards.
Mm-hmm.
But, now it's not. It used to be a hub to ship your cattle off.
Yeah.
And now it's like it's a glorified, horse and pony show, and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
You're losing this, and by losing it, these cities like Denver, like Chicago, are losing a vital integration with the rural part. There is nothing wrong with living in an urban area.
Yeah.
However, in order to live, but I think to live in an urban area, you also have to understand what it's like to live in a rural area.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you don't live there, there has to be some sort of connection. And there's this massive divide where these urban areas are growing like a cancer and these rural areas are dying and just being enveloped. And there's no sense of, oh yeah, when I was a kid, we would go out to see like the dugouts and stuff on the plains on field trips. I can't imagine there's many more of those that are just on the BLM land or whatever standing.
Yeah, I don't know.
Set aside, with the city for the historical society, and that's it, And this dying knowledge of what it's like to live with the land and what it's like to live, outside of where everything is 5 minutes away from you.
Mm-hmm.
I can get a type of food from every single country or every single region on Earth within a 20-minute drive of where I live.
Yeah, that's insane.
It's insane. Where I live in Colorado or where my parents live in Colorado, it's the same way.
Mm-hmm.
And you look at places like, well, I wouldn't say Kansas, but, Kansas City, Omaha, these places along the rivers, on those borders, it's becoming the same way as Denver is.
Mm-hmm.
Des Moines, when I grew up, Des Moines was nothing. We would drive through it on our way to Wisconsin and it was just there. Now it's like a stop. Now it's a real place. And that's great and all, but, how many of those people in Des Moines know what it's like or know anything about, what it takes to support that group?
Yeah.
Everybody can be all excited about their tofu and their soy stuff, but where does that come from?
Yeah.
That comes from rural West Tennessee. And what is it like to live there?
Yeah.
Well, I think it's great because there's a really good food truck. But besides that, it's hard because all of these people, all of these skilled positions that you need to have a functioning town are gone.
Yeah.
Because they're going to the cities, which are then growing. By the time, in 30 years, I guarantee you, where my ex is from, it's not going to be, separate towns 20, 30 minutes away from each other. It's all going to be one conglomerate because that's the easiest way to keep going. And they're losing this connection. Wherever you go, the connection between rural and urban is becoming more divided and also more unclear.
Yeah, I think that's right. Hold that thought. I gotta pee again. I've been drinking a ton of water here. But I got something I think you'll get a kick out of. All right, I'm back. It's funny you were. You watch South Park much?
Yeah, I do enough.
Okay, I think they have some of the most brilliant commentary on on American culture ever. Like I've been a fan of them since I was I guess it was before I was even in high school, maybe. I'm not sure, but
I think they was early 90s that they
something like that
producing stuff. There's almost 30 seasons of it, I think.
Yeah, I think it was like 98 or 99 was when their first deal came out. But I've been a fan of them since I guess probably 7th grade. But they one of their last seasons they they had this old bit where like nobody knows how to fix anything or do anything, and the handyman, next thing you know, the handyman's just balling out of control. And
that's really what's going on.
And then, but then like the handyman, they all get rich mansions, and then they just like start going to space for some reason, and you're like, oh, so like that's also kind of what the nerds did. Like nobody had any use for the nerds, and then next thing you know, they're the nerds are balling out of control, and I don't know, it's kind of funny, and I think there are. Well, I saw like the UFC is now sponsored by like the College of Working Trades or something like that. So I think you're gonna see I think you're gonna see like a huge influx of like mechanics and carpenters and like skilled tradesmen in the next 10, which I hope so. I mean that's
How would you describe the work that we do as punchers? If you had to put a collar on it, there's blue collar, obviously, there's green collar, that's military and police and service members. But would you lump us in with the blue collar? I've always kind of thought we were brown collar.
I was what I was gonna say too. It's kind of a brown collar. I think you could put farming, ranching, cow punch. That's all kind of a brown collar job, I'd say. It's essentially it's a labor position for the most part, or a trades, a skilled trade, depending. I mean, because I would say like your cowboy position is both a laborer and a skilled trade. And I think most farming is kind of like the same way. It's a labor position, but that's also a skilled trade, particularly now with all the technology and shit. And so I don't know. I think brown collared be, I guess, if to lump it into a category, it'd be it'd just be agriculture related, I'd say.
Yeah. I think that my brother actually, he was at K-State and it wasn't for him. And so, now he's going to trade school because that's something that he thinks is what where his path lies and what he's passionate about. And I think that this realization that, eventually the economy is going to fix itself. If you just follow what you like to do, you're going to end up being fine. Not everybody has to have 6 different college degrees. The only reason I'm still in college is to ensure that when I ask people to give me money to support my Chandler Project and my ranch, that they look at me and they're like, oh, he's a qualified individual for it.
Mm-hmm.
But, I'm looking at it and I'm like, you don't need that anymore. It's becoming again like you don't need a degree to survive. If you find your niche, if you find what you want to do, you can support you and your own just fine.
Yeah, I firmly believe, like my generation, your generation, and then like my Generation X, we were sold a false bill of goods on that college deal. Like that's the whole thing. Is like, like I'm not saying that all the college loan debts needs to be forgiven or whatever, but I am saying that there is a legitimate grievance there. It's not just that like, oh, we don't want to pay it back. Like this is kind of you sold us a false bill of goods is my grievance anyways. And I'm not saying, I don't know who's to blame. It's the government in general, but it's just like, well, you did promise the moon and the stars if we got this piece of paper, and then you made it expensive as hell but it wasn't no big deal because we just loan you the money and it's all guaranteed and all that. And so then we add all the amenities to these colleges too, where it used to be like a pretty austere environment. There was the dormitory and the kitchen, or the cafeteria and classrooms. That's it. It was pretty stripped down. And then when I was in school, and I'm sure it's got even more insane since then. But we had top of the line gym facility, swimming pools, and
I'm not against having a good gym and swimming pool, but
no, not either. But then we also had we had like 4 or 5 different cafeteria setups in the 2 different dorms. Like I was in Parmley, and then I forget what the other one was. Then that was Connect Corbett, I think. But I mean, it just, you're like, boy, a lot of it seemed like a little over the top, and then didn't think much of it at the time. Like, oh, that's pretty cool. And then as you're paying it back, and you're like, oh, no wonder my tuition was so damn expensive.
That's why I went to Wyoming, is because Colorado State was more expensive as an in-state student than it was to be an out-of-state student at the University of Wyoming. Now, obviously, my tuition's paid for. But I mean, it stands the same. I went and I looked around CSU's campus. My best friend, when he gets out of the Marines, that's where he's going. Because they took away his major at Wyoming. But that's like the other thing too, is like, well, what are you going to do, with that major? Yeah. My dad graduated with a degree in petroleum engineering. He's a petroleum engineer, but he worked for Lockheed Martin and not as a petroleum engineer.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, well, you pushed this college on me, but, you encouraged me to find something I was good at and that I like to do, and you found that in college, but that's not what you do now at all.
Mm-hmm.
And, I'm looking at, kids like my brother, or, I had a kid I went to church with growing up. He was a little younger than me, that he didn't do college. He decided after high school he was going to get a trade degree, and now he's got his own business. And he's like, I figured out what I wanted to do, and it wasn't having to do with spending, upwards of $40,000 on a degree that's kind of useless now.
Yeah.
You need to have my mom she's a physical therapist, and she has just her master's. But now you have to be a doctor to be a physical therapist. She got grandfathered in. But you have to have, 12 years of higher education, just about, to be a physical therapist. If you count, all your residential time once you graduate.
Yeah. That's a lot of...
like, okay, so if you're willing to put that work in, absolutely go for it. But at the same time, if that's not something you want to do, why do it?
Yeah. Yeah, it's true. Especially in the medical field. Like, I'd just as soon everybody that's working there want to be there. At least that's my hope when I ever end up in a medical situation,
Yeah. I with the VA, I've seen a lot of people who don't want to be there anymore.
I can't even imagine. So like my biological dad was Vietnam vet, and I was put in foster care when I was 9. So I didn't have to deal with any of like the VA stuff, or at least like I was young. Any of the stuff that I was around that he had to deal with. I was too young to really know much of anything, and so like as that all went on, he died when I was in high school. But like that would have been a nightmare, it's because he's he was Vietnam vet. I'm sure he had some sort of disability with them, and it was all through the VA, and I'm sure it was just a nightmare. I can't even imagine.
People are like, well, why won't socialized healthcare work for the United States? And I'm like, well, it already doesn't. Look at the VA.
Yeah. Yeah, it's it's a mess. It's a mess. And like I said, I'm fortunate I didn't have to deal. I've never had to deal with it much, but I've just heard horror stories.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There is bad medicine, and then on top of it, it follows whatever administration's, pushing policies. So there's a lot of agenda-based healthcare going on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, when the new administration sets whatever their policies are for the administration, then every single department follows suit. And so when it's climate driven, that's when everybody's everything's electric vehicles or whatever, even though, and then you lead into these photo ops that turn into not photo ops because you block all the fucking all the chargers for the Teslas with your government vehicles, and it's just insane how all of that, and then it's just so fucking big. There's biggest entity in the world, the U.S. federal government.
Yeah, and, it was created to be smaller than the state government.
Yeah, exactly.
Funny how that kind of comes full circle to what we talked about at the start.
Yep. Yeah, it's I don't know. It's like the term "self-licking ice cream cone" was invented to describe the U.S. military during the Cold War, and I mean it's a perfect analogy. The only thing all this shit benefits is the federal government. Like none of it benefits the people that are paying the salaries, the people of the country, but the government benefits a whole bunch.
It sure does.
But I don't know. I think there's change in the air. I think whether it's a good change or not, I don't know. I'm not a soothsayer, but I do feel like we're on the verge of something big, and I don't know if it's going to be like drastically big. I don't know, but it feels like something's about to pop loose, and however it all settles, I think we'll be in a better spot. But it's how we get to that point has got me a little nervous.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I think I'm seeing people kind of come to their senses. The COVID fog is still there for a lot of people, but I've seen a lot of people snap out of it and kind of take a look around, and I think you hear a lot of people talking about the 90s lately, and I think that's a good thing because the 90s were pretty awesome, and I
wish I could have experienced them.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. I'm not gonna lie. But it was like we're seeing like guys like my age and like there's still a chance for my kids to have that type of growing up. It's gonna be different, but like still be able to do scouts and sports and go run and like they're riding their bikes down the road to the neighbor kids and crashing along the way, and they're like, all right, well that's shit that I did, and I'm still able to do that for them, and I want to keep it that way, and so like I think there's enough people with that type of mentality that are finally kind of popping their heads up, and we'll be all right. It just might be a little ugly getting there. I don't know.
Yeah, it'll happen. I
think so.
Think patience, is the virtue that it's always been, and I think understanding, the way the world works and the way, how the cycles kind of come about.
Yeah.
Is always growing.
I think it's good for young men to bounce around a little bit and see what's out there. I can't speak on what's good for the young ladies. I just don't know. I don't know.
We're not young ladies.
Yeah, but I know for young men, I think it's good to bounce around. But like when you can find a place to plant your flag, you plant your flag and keep it. Like that's kind of how we operate. Like all right, well this is where it is now, and I'm gonna make this awesome. Like this is mine, and this is where I'm at, and part of what makes it awesome is having good people around you, and so I don't know. It's I think, like I said, I think it's important to go out and see what the world has to offer. But when you find a good spot with good people around you, you plant your flag and then you protect it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's kind of what I've done, and I encourage people to do that. It's but there's nothing worse than somebody who's never left their hometown though, that tries to figure out how the world works, and you're like, no, you have no clue. Get out in the world a little bit, and then then come back home. I think it's a solid plan. It worked for for many generations. It seemed like I don't know what exactly where we got off track, but it's I think there's gonna be there'll be a correction.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sure there will be.
Yeah, I mean it's nature, it's God, it's biology, whatever you want to attribute it to, but men will act a certain way, and you can only suppress that urge for so long for men to, go out and have adventures and conquer shit before they eventually go do that. And yeah. Turns out after a while the ladies don't like the bitchified men either. So, that's why so many marriages get blown up in the military. It's somebody's always fucking another dude's wife, like always, because women like buff dudes. That's what happens.
It is.
Yeah, I don't know, but well, we've been at it for a while. I think we covered it all. You got anything else you wanna plug before we call her an episode?
Find me on Instagram. To search up my name. I'm working on getting the Chandler Project and the Bar Lazy W, up and running. If you have any ideas of how I can better reach the ag community and what truly the ag community needs in terms of mental health, please feel free to let me know. I am all ears. And if you have a place, in Wyoming or Colorado with a lot of land for cheap, I'll thank you for that help, because I've got a good group of people who are looking to get this going, and I want to ensure that, we're protecting, ours and we're ensuring that we have a future. Agriculture isn't dying, but it's sure changing. And I think that, in order to maintain what we have, we gotta protect what we are. So, reach out, hit Matt up. He can connect you with me.
Yeah, for sure.
If you need help, there's the 988 number. Don't kill yourself, please.
Yeah.
That's kind of the biggest thing is just ensuring that we're still here to evolve.
Yeah.
Because if there's none of us left, there's no evolution. So
yeah, that's true. And no, I think that's an important issue and it gets talked about, but like not really. And like, it's always awareness, but like, what are we doing to make sure it doesn't happen? Because it seems like it just keeps...
Awareness doesn't mean shit if there's no action being taken.
Yeah.
I'm aware of my own, shortcomings and my own mental health issues, but if I wasn't taking action, what does that say about me? What does that do for me? How does that help anybody out?
Yeah, so I think it's an awesome thing, awesome vision you've got, and you might reach out to like Black Rifle and those some of those type of people, because they've done a lot of work in.
Jeremiah Blackbeard with his War Party movement has done a lot. I'd rather reach out to him than Matt Best and all of his little frat boy vets.
Okay, I can put you in contact with Jeremiah, no problem. He's a real deal.
Yeah, there's so much shit going on. There's no reason that we keep adding on to it ourselves.
Yeah.
So I want to ensure that we figure out how to stop and how to move on and how to grow.
Yeah.
You can't help your kids. You can't ensure their future if you're dead.
Yeah.
A life insurance policy doesn't insure shit. I know that for a fact.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and it's just, I don't know. You got to be a man, and being a man is not hard, or not. It's not hard, but it goddamn sure ain't easy either.
No, you got to cowboy the fuck up, cowgirl the fuck up.
Yeah, it's
your job as a person. Build your community, build your life, but ensure that you can't help the guy next to you in a falling plane if you're passed out too.
Yeah. So, no, you got to take care of yourself. And sometimes taking care of yourself is calling your buddy and bullshitting for a couple hours. And it helps. I do it quite often. It's another good reason I do the podcast. I get to talk, just shoot the shit with people. It helps. So, anyways, yeah, I appreciate your time, man. I think it's a noble effort that you're undertaking. I think noble causes should be honored and promoted. So I'm happy to give you the little platform that I have, and I hope it turns out well. If you need anything, let me know, and go follow him on Instagram, Eric Winkler. And yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what comes of it. So thanks again, and move your ass, burning daylight.
Move your ass, you're burning daylight. Thank you for having me, Matt.
He was just a rookie trooper, and he surely shook with pride. He checked off his equipment and made sure his back was tight. He had to sit and listen to